line?
You were just muted.
Oh, Kim, can you hear us?
Through this season.
Okay, good.
And gotten better.
Okay, thank you.
We're ready? Okay. Let's call this meeting to order. Steve is on facility and Robert is absent this evening. Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is right behind you. All over there. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
And to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Mission statement, Viroqua area schools will nurture excellence, unlock potential, and ignite passion. Student board report tonight, we have Trixie and August. Two Laurel students come this way. If you, speaker is there, and if you could stand over here so we can see you, not that.
Right, yeah,
Right
pick you up
there,
on the
right
camera,
there.
right?
Now you're on
Yeah,
camera.
there you go. There you go.
Okay. Should we just start by saying?
Just Let us have it.
I'm Trixie Kappa, and right now I'm where I'm going to college because I'm still waiting on this decision letters from some of the schools I've applied to, but I plan on going to a four-year institution and majoring in English and possibly double majoring in English and classics. So you could guess my favorite classes are English and history. I'm taking A-Push and AP Lit right now, and I'm enjoying them a lot. And some of the activities that I'm in right now are I'm the class president of my grade. I'm in student council. I'm in volleyball, but that's not going on right now. And then one thing that I did at Laurel this year was at the end of my junior year, I created a curriculum for an advanced English class that I would facilitate for the first semester of my senior year. So that just ended, but it was one of the highlights of my whole high school career. So that was super exciting. And August was in it. So that was super fun. And that's one of the reasons why I chose Laurel, not because I knew I was going to do this when I transferred my sophomore year, but just because of the independence and all the opportunities that are at Laurel for students that you can't really get at a traditional high school.
How many students were you teaching?
Well, I wasn't teaching.
Okay.
I have to say I was facilitating because I'm not a teacher, but I was facilitating 13 because there's 14 with me. So yeah, it's 13. Some 3 sophomores, junior, and then there's some juniors and seniors mostly. So
Were you critiqued,
I
the students?
I mean, depending on what I was having them read.
Okay.
We read Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, which wasn't everyone's favorite, but
It's my favorite.
yeah, August loved it. I loved it. So August did critique me for that, but yeah. And I had a lot of help from one of the past English facilitators from Laurel, which was Cassidy Polson. I'm still in contact with her. I mean, she helped me a lot with building the curriculum, and then also Miss Avery at the public school helped me a lot with like keeping everything balanced and making sure I could just like make it happen. And then also obviously Renee and Lynn at Laurel helped a lot with maintaining the class. So it was a great experience.
I don't know if I can really follow that up, yes, but I'm August. Future plans, I do plan to work full time for a year, but then I am applying to a few four-year universities, mostly in the States, but I am applying to one in Switzerland and one in Nova Scotia randomly. I would say my favorite class this year was definitely Dixie's English class. Yeah, it really helped me hone my thesis writing skills, I would say, because we had an essay every unit, which was fun. Other than that, right now I'm taking an appreciation and history of music class through an online college, which has been super fun. My sophomore year, I actually did a music composition class where I wrote quite a few pieces, and so getting to do that at a college level is really fun. I helped start the Laurel GSA Club. end of last year. So we were meeting like bi-weekly, doing some local activism things. So that was with a few other students. It was a pretty big accomplishment, I think. I chose Laurel. I was in Trillium originally, which was like a charter project-based school. And I went and sat in on the Laurel ASL class my 8th grade year. And it was very hands-on learning, which is something that I felt like I needed at the time. Now I've created a ton of independent studies and I've gotten to explore areas that I'm interested in. So yeah, I'd say it was a good choice.
How many college credits do you have?
I'm currently taking 2 college classes, so it would be 2 college credits or half of a public school credit. I did take AP Language and Composition and AP Psychology last year. And this year I'm taking AP US History, so I'll also have those in theory.
Do you play an instrument?
I do. I've played piano since elementary school, but middle school I learned guitar and ukulele, and I play a little viola every now and then, but not a ton. So, but guitar is my main focus.
Have you worked with any of the professionals around the area with the music scores that you've written for them to perform them?
Not yet. I definitely have a little bit of stage fright, which is funny because I'm speaking right now. So the only people who have really heard my music have been Renee and some of the other Laurel facilitators. But I do plan to in the future. I am very tightly wound with the local community theater. I do tech work there. So in theory, I could hook something up if I got the courage to. So
Wonderful. Anyone have any questions? You're 2 remarkable young people. We're very excited to see where your journey goes. Thank you for coming and presenting, and we wish you all the best.
thank you.
Always so impressive. Next, we have our 2nd grade teacher. And are there students?
Nope.
No students this evening. 2nd grade teachers, I should say. Please introduce yourselves first.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody must.
Should, yeah.
Looks like there's rain throughout.
Oh.
Okay.
So, sure.
I can picture.
Oh,
Yep, that's.
and we can,
Yep,
so we each.
yep, and I'm.
Sorry.
Yep.
Well, go ahead.
I am Amy Gearing, 2nd grade teacher.
Christine Dobbs.
Remy Jankowski, the newest one.
So this earlier in the fall, an email came from Mr. Olbert, which he had an email from Tara out of Bethel Home and Services, asking if any classroom would like to visit homes this year. So we thought, after discussing, this would be a perfect opportunity for our 2nd graders to build a community connection and have a positive experience and make a difference, just something out of school and fun. So we have a rotation basis. We visit each home each month. So it's bi-monthly. We rotate through the 3 classrooms. So there's only 1 classroom at a time visiting, right around 14, 15 kids. And it's been wonderful. It's been a great experience. So we wanted to share that with you tonight. So we visit Bethel Oaks Memory Care and Maplewood Terrace.
So then going through the benefits, both generations are entertained. Residents and children partake in activities they may not otherwise. Improves children's language and communication skills. Residents teach valuable lessons, and it increases their social interaction.
Also improves emotional well-being, builds empathy, patience, and problem-solving skills, promotes brain development, leadership skills, and relationship building. There's been some really good relationships built. Kids remember their names and go right to those people the next visit. It's been pretty cool.
And not only do both generations benefit, but this experience also connects to our district strategic planning in many ways. I would say one way is students definitely demonstrate compassion when they go to those homes and working with a different generation of individuals. And we hope that as they continue to do these experiences, they will discover their possibilities as individuals and hopefully unlock and ignite that passion to continue these community outreach programs as they get older. We think the community pillar definitely directly connects with this experience, and I can dive into that a little bit more on the next slide. The goal that this district hopes for their students in terms of community is that they strengthen community partnerships and collaboration among other students, families, educators, and stakeholders to achieve shared goals. And if you can see in these pictures, these second graders are already to begin achieving this goal at such an early age by having these experiences with a different generation.
So some of the activities that we do when we go, seasonal crafts, door decorations. The kids made some different holiday decorations when they were there with the residents, and back at school, the classrooms that did not go, they also make that craft. So then it can go to the rest of the people that are residents that are not there. We sing songs. We kind of take some of the songs, some of their favorite songs that they learn in music class, and we practice those and they sing for the residents. Card games, bingo, board games, coloring, and just chit-chatting, just plain old talking and just the little conversations going on. The kids were really amazed last time that my class went. The people kept telling them, you color, they didn't want to color. They wanted to watch the children color. And so trying to explain that to the children that they get the joy of just talking with the kids and watching them color. So it's really a wonderful experience. And this is something that we did with the nursing home visits. We did pre-COVID. Second grade did. We went to Creamery Creek and we did similar activities. So it's really nice to bring this back and just explore some different facilities in our community.
We had the kids reflect upon this experience up to this point. And here are some student writing responses. We saw, I just love going to the nursing homes. It is so fun and I love to do crafts and talk to them. I like going because it makes me feel good. I like going because I make them smile and laugh, and we get to make new friends and we are both happy. So it's very heartwarming to be a part of this, and we're so happy that we've been able to do this, and we have planned throughout the rest of this year and hope to keep this as a second grade tradition to continue.
Any questions? It's fabulous. I'm so glad you all are doing it. My children had that benefit when they were going through elementary school and really, really enjoyed it. And the people there just love that things. They'll talk about anything.
Yeah,
It's so interesting. And there's a lot of people laughing.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
kids do.
Even some residents hesitated the first time that we were there, and by the end, they were rolled up to the table in their chairs and interacting, and it's so cool to see. It's a really good experience. So we're glad we're able to do it.
I go with Redwood Local Library and volunteer at some of these places. The memory care units, working with the folks in the memory care units is fascinating, because the things that will come up that they remember, that they'll start talking about as you're reading a first grade or a second grade book. I can just see the kids reading to them and talking to them, and how everyone would really enjoy that, because they like to be around younger people. More people my age for sure. So thank you for doing it. And thanks for coming tonight to present.
Right.
The audit report. All right. Mike,
Yes.
want to kick us off here?
Sure. Do you
I don't know how
You
you
have
follow
something
up
there you
Kim,
want?
with all of
So,
that good
Kim, do you
stuff.
want to share your screen with the presentation or anything, or do you want me to real quickly?
It doesn't matter. I can. Want me to?
I think it would be easiest for you, others, I'm gonna have to click through for you and everything. The board has a copy of it, so they can. They have a copy of that, and that's titled, audit presentation. So,
Does anyone here want to have this document in their hands,
and then
going through it?
electronically, you also have the audit report and the report communication, which is the booklet that you have to bring, which is yours to keep.
I can't Bucky. Down guys. Lucky.
This is Kim Hollerman. She's been with Johnson and Black for a number of years now. She's been serving our audit for, I think, about the last 4 or 5. I'll just let her stay away.
I will jump right in. There's 2, I guess. So we've completed our audit for the school district for the year ended June 30th, 2023. We issued our normal, clean, unmodified opinion. We also issued the single audit along with that report this year. That second paragraph notes you had about $3.5 million in federal funds that we were required to audit. And there were no findings related to those, to the single audit. Scope of our audit included all funds and activities of the district. Management has reviewed and accepted the financial statements and adjusting journal entries. And then a separate audit communication document was issued along with the report and should be read in conjunction with the financial statements. We just had one finding on there. It's lack of segregation of duties. That is just a significant deficiency because there is some segregation of duties between staff in the office. But that finding's been in there for several years and is normal for a school district of your size. Page 3. I don't know. Do you want me to zoom in at all or just see it on your screen?
Sorry.
She wants you, do you want her to zoom in?
Oh, I can see it on my computer.
Oh.
Does anyone else need it to be larger?
Okay. So the general fund had revenues of 18.5 million, expenditures of 19.2 million, other financing uses of 137,000 for a decrease of 808,000, and an ending fund balance of 4 million. Debt service had revenues of 762,000, expenditures of 1.1 million, other financing sources of 1.7 million, for an increase of 1.4 million, and an ending fund balance of 2.4 million. And then your capital projects fund had revenue of 95,000, expenditures of 1.5 million, other financing sources of 21.3 million, for an increase of 19.9 million and an ending fund balance of that same amount. And then the non-major funds that's your special revenue trust, food service, package cooperative, and long-term capital improvement trust. We had total revenues of 2 million, expenditures of 2.4 million, other financing sources of 29,000 for a decrease of 324,000 and an ending fund balance of 958,000. Overall, you had ending fund balance of 27.2 million compared to 7.1 million the year before. Obviously, a lot of that is the bond proceeds that weren't spent at the end of the year. The next page is the budget actual for the general fund. So I will look at the focus on the final column. So you budgeted 17.1 million in revenue, and you actually had 17.3 million. So a positive variance of 195,000. Expenditures, you budgeted 16.4 million, and you had 16.5, so a small unfavorable variance of 17,000. That kind of thing, yeah. And then other financing sources, you budgeted, uses, I'm sorry, 1.7 million and you had 1.6, so a positive variance of 76,000. So overall, you had a positive variance compared to budget of 253,000. And then your special ed fund. So you budgeted 1.2 million in revenue and you had 1.2, so a very small variance there. Expenditures, you budgeted 2.8 billion and you had 2.7, so a positive variance of 75,000. And then you budgeted that transfer of 1.6 million and you actually had 1.5 million that was needed. Page 6 is a breakdown of your fund balance. So you had non-spendable fund balance of 42,000 or about 1%. And then, oops, sorry. Restricted fund balance, you had 23.8 million or 87%. Again, that's mostly the unspent bond proceeds in the capital projects fund. And then unassigned fund balance, you had 3.4 million or about 12%. Okay, and then this next page is a trend in your general fund balance. There we go. So you can see it's decreased about 16% over the 6 years presented. And then there was about a 17% decrease from the prior year. Page 8 is a breakdown of your revenues. So 47% came from state sources, 26% from property taxes, 16% federal sources, 5% interdistrict and intermediate sources, 4% other local sources, and 2% other. And then just a note, the most significant revenue from state sources is your equalization aid, and that's about 7.3 million. Page 9 is a breakdown of your property tax. Just the breakdown for the current year, I'll go over. 735,000 went to community service, 716,000 to referendum debt, and then the remaining 4.1 million to the general fund. Page 10 is a breakdown of your equalization aid. This has increased about 8% over the 6 years presented and about a 2% increase from the prior year. And then on the next page is your enrollment trend, and that affects your equalization aid. So your enrollment has gone down about 9% over those 6 years presented and about 2% from the prior year. Then we'll move on to your expenditures. 43% went to instruction, 34% support services, 7% non-program, 4% debt service, and 12% capital outlay. And then the last page is just a breakdown of your long-term debt. So the district has bonds, notes, and then a bond premium. They had a beginning balance of 1.9 million, borrowing of 22.9 million, payments of 658,000 for an ending balance of 24.1 million,
of which 745,000 is due in the current school year. And then down below is the debt limit as of the end of last school year. You had 81.9 million to borrow. 22.6 million was subject to that limit. So you had a remaining balance of 59.3 million or 72.5%. That's all I have. What do you have for questions for me?
Questions? Thank you for the thorough report. I know that there were some comments in there that the district worked very well with you. Do you have any concerns that we should be aware of is the only question that I have.
No, I don't think so. I mean, you guys have good staff working there, and that lack of segregation of duties, it's split out pretty well compared to many of the other districts we see. So no concerns.
Thank you for the update, and thank you, Tom and Mike, for a clean audit. Thank you. Have a good evening and Happy New Year.
Thank you, you too.
The next item is committee reports and curriculum.
Met January 4th and reviewed Intro to Education. So I think everyone maybe got a copy of that, and if you didn't, I'm happy to send that out. But we reviewed a new class, the Open Education, which Krista wants to talk about it, but it's Scott Benzing is teaching it this semester, right?
Yep.
And 14 students. I think that was the number somebody said. Is it less?
I think it's maybe upper or something.
Okay.
Transcripted class through Western.
Yes.
So
So it looked really interesting. Like it's a nice way of building your own. A little music on the side here. It looked like a really nice way of building your own teachers and also providing some opportunities for our students to get certificates and college credit at the same time. The curriculum looked fascinating. Thank you for your work on that. Thank you, Vicki. The next item, do we have any visitors or public comments?
Not that I'm aware of, but I will look really quick.
Thank you. The next item is consent agenda, which under that is approval of the agenda, proof of public notice, December meeting minutes, voucher summary 1 in the amount of $280,657.82. There are no retirements or resignations. There are no appointments. The 24-25 open enrollment spaces are as follows: unlimited availability for VES, VMS, or VHS in grades 4 through 12, regular education and special education, early childhood 1 space, elementary school 1 space, middle school 0 space, high school 0 spaces. The charter school enrollment is designated by each school. Policy, which we reviewed all of these last month for the first reading. This would be the second meeting or the second review of those policies. And that's the consent.
Just to clarify, the open enrollment spaces for regular education is for K through 12. You said grades 4 through 12.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
just want to make sure that was
4K.
yep, on the record as
Absolutely.
being
Grades
4K.
4K through 12. Yes, thank you.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented. Second.
Any discussion? So thank you also to the policy committee for working on all those policies too. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the consent agenda. Oops, I'm sorry, is the voucher summary 2. I'm slow to the punch here. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda and our voucher summary 2 in the amount of $310,109.73?
I'll move to approve the voucher summary 2 in the amount of $310,109.73.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I abstain. Item B, WASB resolutions. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the WASB resolutions as recommended to give the board delegate direction when voting at the school board convention.
Is there a second?
Second.
Good luck, Dana. Have fun. I read through them. It seems to me that they're all pretty straightforward. I can't imagine that there's anything controversial in there, but I'm.
They will find it.
They will find it
They
and
will
pick
find
it apart. So,
Look like that when you vote on.
Right.
so we look forward to hearing back from you on that. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Pupil non-discrimination report. Is there a motion to approve the 2022-23 pupil non-discrimination report?
I move to approve the 2022-23 pupil non-discrimination report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Kathy, do you have anything to add?
We look at this every year, the principals and I, if there were any verbal or written, discrimination complaints. And this is from last school year. There were none this school year in any of the, populations or categories that were researched.
That's great. Thank you. Any questions? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for that clean report. 24-25 student calendar dates, first day and last day and graduation.
I move to approve the 24-25 student calendar dates, the first day being Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, the last day being Wednesday, June 6th, 2025. And graduation will be held on Saturday, May 24th, 2025.
Second, any discussion?
And give you a little bit just on where we are in the process. Again, last year we started that approving first and last day. First of all, I can't believe we're talking about 2025 already. Seems distant, but it is important. But we are looking at a couple of potential things within the calendar that may be changes. And so we don't have those ready yet or polished. One of the considerations is with our focus on collaboration among staff is giving them time to collaborate. And so other models that we're looking at are up to 4 early releases. Now, I know that scares a lot of our board members potentially, right? With childcare issues. That's what we're trying to work out right now. Because the unintended consequence of doing something like that is also that our support staff gets a fewer hours. And so we're trying to find that balance, and we'll be talking with not only teachers, but support staff on how we can serve students that don't have childcare that after, for those afternoons, if that is the route that we're going to go. But again, just trying to make sure that, that you guys are aware that changes are potentially coming, and we're collaborating with other districts that have done this in the past with some success. And how do they do it while providing that childcare that is so desperately needed? And not making sure, families have a one-off, if at all possible. So more updates to
We've done
come.
that in the past.
Yep, more
We've
updates
had
to come.
different versions of it, some in the morning, some in the afternoon. Look forward to hearing more about that. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is informational and discussion. Jack Fitzpatrick Memorial Scholarship. Do you want to share some information about that?
Yeah, it's in your packet. It's really a cool scholarship. It's from former student Ryan Zemla, and who's the owner of Attention to Detail, who is providing this scholarship of $250 for a student that's interested in automotive, business or natural resources. And so again, really cool connection with a recent, graduate. And who has started his own business and is having a successful time at it. And so again, to support a student with that passion within those industries. Mhm.
I know with my work on the foundation that you can't award a scholarship like this to a family member. And I'm assuming this committee will be aware of that
Yeah.
too.
They don't have any.
Oh, they don't, okay.
We don't have to worry about that with this one.
Okay. I just
That
had
I'm
to-
aware of
I
anyway.
just had for this come up
Yep.
with different scholarships, so. Well, we would like to thank the family for offering this for our students, and it's a great opportunity. Donations over $250. The Driftless Cafe and the Viroqua community have gifted $7,000 from the solstice dinner to her families, some assistance. And we just can't thank them enough. It's a wonderful, lovely evening. A lot of work goes into it. A lot of the employees volunteer their time. And there's a great outpouring from the community at this event. And so thank you to the Driftless and everyone that participated.
Yeah, and that's it's a community event. A lot of the ingredients and food that is also donated by local companies. And I believe 7,000 was our highest to date, which is incredible. But the turnaround from and how the district is involved is that money is funneled through Kathy and her staff, and then provided Viroqua bucks to purchase and use that money within our local community. So it is truly from start to finish a community event, and one that we're incredibly proud to be a part of. It's a quick turnaround though. We always have that conversation that Friday, or the day after, and then it turns by the end of the day. Usually, that money is in and out very, very quickly.
Don't exactly know how much it's going to be
Right,
either, so
right.
planning is difficult.
A huge shout out to Kathy and her staff that put that together.
Thank you, Kathy. It still takes time, so thank you. The district administrator report.
Yeah, so what you have in your packet is a facility update. I am going to share my screen here potentially. And also an owner's report from Myron. And so this will also go out to staff as it's really fun to see some pictures. We walked the fourth grade teachers through, that was that was last week on one of the days we were in school. One of the 2 days I think we were here. As you can see in this report, we'll just kind of walk through from them what they're working on. So essentially, we've gone through some major milestones. January 2nd was our mobilization day, where they had all of the contractors on site, went through all of their safety protocols. We have Pat, who is one of the superintendents, who I believe it's probably an understatement to say that he is very into safety. Probably an understatement if I'm right on that one, right, Mike? That one is so to make sure all of the subs have gone through their training, to make sure anyone that is going to be spending a significant amount of time on site is having that training. So safety measures were put in place. Temporary fencing has been installed in between the two buildings. Along with at least, we don't have a final count, 50 jersey barriers to create a walking path. Now, this is inconvenient. We are not saying that it is not at all to try to get back and forth between the buildings. The one thing we really wanted to prevent was students crossing over any bus traffic or heavy equipment traffic, if at all possible. And we achieved that, and you can go in the back and look at the cattle chute, for lack of a better analogy there, and a better term, that walks them literally from the sidewalk over at the elementary to the sidewalk over here at the middle school. And they had truckloads of those Jersey barriers coming in. And so it was quite a process. I really appreciate everybody's patience and understanding as we go through these things, since we haven't gone through in many, many years. This is a major construction project, and it absolutely disrupts some normal operations and things as they typically are. The new additions will kick off in March of 2024 at the elementary school. That's secure front entrance addition with a commons area. And at the middle school, high school, that's the two-story addition on the backside to square off the building, the secure front entrance at the front of this building, and the 7,500 square foot expansion of the tech ed wing. As you can see, key issues, concerns, they don't have anything right now, but they do have an RFI process that as things come up, it's there for the construction management group, Myron, to see. The architects at HSR and any subs can see things live, and they get those updates as anyone brings up any concerns that they can work through. Procurement of materials is always a hot topic. It is going to continue to be. We're not seeing any major delays that I can remember, Mike, from our last conversation.
6 to 8 weeks, so they didn't feel that was
Yeah, wasn't a major one. The one that continues to get brought up, but we have been, assured at least to this point that we're on track for, are any interior doors. Exterior doors seem to be easier to get than interior doors. I'm not sure why. But that is one thing that was a concern at the ELC and is a concern on this project. So I'm not sure what door manufacturers are doing or why that is the one group that is an issue, but it is. Demolition kicked off in that old district office on the 2nd, followed by some very loud saw cutting in that wing. I do apologize for that. I hope it was just the one day, though. I mean, that's really what they tried to limit it to, the one day. And masons are already scheduled and have been in to already start or will be continuing to build those walls back up to where they need to be, which is just crazy to think about. The manpower, a lot of people were on site. So we had the Fowler and Hammer had 4 people on their crew for demolition. Hengel Brothers Plumbing had two people in their crew. Stanek had a person here for the electric, and the Cooley Region HVAC had a 2-person crew for the mechanical demolition. So they had all hands on deck. Myron staff, so we do have a student here, a junior at the high school that is a youth apprentice and is getting paid in such a cool relationship to work on his school in the morning and then in the afternoon attend classes. And so it's a really outstanding opportunity for him and will continue to be throughout the project. So yeah, I bumped into him a couple of different times and we've had some conversation. He's some of these cold mornings and the early starts are interesting, but it's good. And he's getting some great experience. At this point, they haven't had any weather delays, which is pretty remarkable. But again, that a lot of that is a shout out to Cody and his crew for getting that snow removed, even on days when we're not necessarily in session, so that the heavy machinery can still get in and out. Safety is again going to be one of their major concerns throughout the process. Those long lead times, things that they can't control, spring weather conditions, mud has been something that has been brought up quite a bit. And then, just making sure that they align with the tech ed. And that's where we are meeting with them at the end of this week to meet with our teachers about any potential scheduling issues that we need to do as far as, okay, when can you get back into this shop area? When can you get back into this shop area in case we need to work on that with the schedule with Jason and Jenny. So excited about that meeting and moving forward. And so we've got some progress photos here. I don't know if I can zoom in and looks like I can. All right. So if you remember, there was this big, interesting desk that no one sat at. This back door down over here, it was my old office door. This was the conference room. And so this was the entry door to get into the building, to the district office. There's Tom's old office picture. I will never see that office like that again, as it is already completely destroyed. One thing we do want to make sure that we wanted to make sure that our students knew they should not go out that door. If they're confused, it's definitely not because there's a lack of signage. It is very clear that no one is supposed to walk out those doors. This was a process, so this is what this looked like for a minute. And then this is now where my old office was, down in this bottom picture down here. You can't really see my cursor down here, down on the bottom right. And this is what the district office looks like right now. There are some minor changes from these pictures as the plumbing is done. And so
That's Tom's office.
yeah, this where the chairs are right here, if you can see my cursor, that is my office. Well, was my office, I guess, is a better way to put that.
Looks like a gigantic space.
It looks much bigger than when everything was in there.
Pickleball court.
No. No. Was that clear enough?
I
Okay.
just had to throw it in.
And so this is what this looks like when you're kind of back by where that big desk was looking out. That's this picture here looking out to where the main door was. There will now be two openings into a shared space for the fourth grade classrooms from that angle. And then this is what the bottom right is what the corridor looks like that will now have lockers on those sides. Well, it'll be cubbies. It won't be lockers like that actually latch. There'll be cubbies that match the rest of the building. What I can say about the project is, yep, I do think that one day was very loud. I've heard a few comments about it. But other than that, there really hasn't been much as far as cutting that needs to happen, especially in concrete. And so when they got those major cuts done, there's still noises, but they aren't as disruptive as what that one day was. And now we're at the point where already, I can't believe we're saying this, on the 15th of January, that they're beginning to, start that rebuild process already. And I will say that as far as a construction site goes, and I shouldn't be surprised with how the ELC went, this is not how some construction sites look on the inside. When you look at this, and some people are going to look at this and go, man, this is this is incredibly clean. It is incredibly well organized. And that is a big shout out to Sam and Pat, our two superintendents, for the construction managers that are managing all of these subcontractors and making sure. I was in part of the meeting where it was very direct from both of them. Your areas will be cleaned every day before you leave. Otherwise, you are not leaving. And it is a very clear, piece here that this is a workspace, but we have students 50 feet away from this. So we're not going to have this be a big mess. We're not going to have this be an issue. And they're doing an outstanding job with it.
I'm curious about the learning experience that some students who've never seen construction like this, is there any ability for students to walk through when people are not working with guidance and safety just to see what construction looks like?
There will be some opportunities when the high school's projects begin for our high school construction and tech ed classes. They're working with those teachers right now. As far as elementary, when I grabbed the fourth grade crew, I don't know how many questions I had about when they got to see it and when they get to walk through. So, and I'm sure you guys had a few questions to answer when you got back to your classrooms. And so we have not discussed that with the littles, especially when there are openings in the floor. We won't do that, right? And so we can discuss it. I'm not sure how that would work with the rest of the elementary, especially the littles. So. Faith is telling me that is just not a good idea. Okay. Well.
Accidentally die.
Yeah. All right.
They will disappear into the hole.
So we will. We can discuss it and see what they would recommend. Historically, they've done it with the high school classes that have some experience in something. Safety have some safety training, have some understanding of what they're looking at. Because again, for those that aren't in construction, you can walk in here and have just no idea what any of this is or why it's open or why it looks the way that it does. But again, I'm incredibly impressed with their pacing, how quickly they're getting done with this work. And again, it's true craftsmanship and it's really cool to see.
They'll be finished with this piece.
So it'll be a little bit hit or miss. So they should have the majority of it done in that March timeframe, except for things like tile work in the bathroom, which will be matched with some of the other projects over the summer because they don't need tilers here multiple times, you know. So they try to batch some of those pieces with the subcontractors to maximize their time and resources as well. And so the walls will be up. Most of the construction will be done in that March timeframe, but they'll still have these finishes, some flooring and specifically tiled in the bathroom that'll have to wait a little bit. But again, awesome start. I can't say enough about it.
Are they working pretty much 8 to 5? Or are they working?
No, they're here earlier than that. I mean, I don't know exactly. I know our student starts at 7 every morning, but I don't know exactly when the subs are on site. But yeah, even with all of the snow and all those issues, we still had people here on site and working through that. Yep. Any other questions, comments, concerns? So this is what your monthly report will look like. We'll send additional information to the staff that doesn't necessarily have, it's not as polished as this. This is the one that's going to go out to staff for this update, but in a couple of weeks, we'll give them another update as they continue to kind of work on this. The progress is still going to be contained until March to this space. And so there's not a ton of movement, but especially when we're on multiple sites, I want to make sure our staff is aware, hey, all right, here's what's going to happen. Here's when it's going to happen. Or at least the window. We're not, we don't have the exact, like this morning, you're going to have this a month out, right? But we have some projections and we can say, hey, over the next couple of weeks, this is what they're going to be working on. And this is when you might hear some noises, we might need to adjust a little bit, those kind of. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Right?
Very exciting. Thank you. Administrators report. We have high school 8th grade Jason.
Yeah, so 8th grade planning was scheduled for last Tuesday. I'm the Shiny lead, and it was last week, which meant it got rescheduled to this Tuesday. And actually, I'm not going to be able to lead it this Tuesday, so I will lead it this Tuesday. So tomorrow night, Ms. UTech is actually going to help assist, especially with sign-in and check-ins, so she'll know the students. So it's an annual meeting. Basically, the parents, the 8th grade students, the class of 2028, have already all got the information in classrooms at this point. So it's an opportunity to bring the parents in. And we basically run through how high school functions, how credits work, how class registrations work for your planning, things like that. Great opportunity, especially we get a good turnout not only from our middle school students, but students that may be looking at moving into the area, students that Pleasant Ridge students will come. We get quite a few different students that come in. And then Laurel at 6 o'clock has an open house too. So if students are interested in Laurel as an option also, they can head up to Laurel too. So we coordinated when we had to reschedule. We worked with Renee to see what days work for everybody. It's not an ideal date. We chose the 9th for a reason because Dan hadn't put a million things on last week. So we kind of had to try to pick and choose, and we knew we couldn't delay it much longer. So we tried picking the best date we could to do that. So yeah, that'll end up being tomorrow night, 5:30 in bed.
The next topic is charter school enrollment window, Pat.
Yeah, for VAMs, per bylaws, it's kind of a 3-step process. We first get current enrolled students, their intent for next year. Yeah, next year's seems like a long ways off, but it's exciting and kind of scary to be thinking about next year already. Just to know, for planning purposes, are you returning exams? Are you gonna be in the middle school or the traditional elementary or moving? For the best that parents know, because that helps us plan for space for next year. Then the month of February is our enrollment window. Yeah, for next year for new families, whether it's for 4K, brand new to our district or any of the grade levels. And then after February, our governance council determines the caps for each room, which is typically 16 per grade level. And then based on enrollment, whether we need to have a lottery or not, if it's more than that 16. That is coming up fast. Yeah, it's kind of scary, but also kind of exciting to be thinking about next year already.
Thank you. Jason, you spoke a little bit to Laurel. Do you want to add anything else to that?
No, and we have the two different schools at high school at a level better futures. That's kind of a fluid window. We basically, especially at this point in the year, we have typically we have monthly meetings. And starting at around this time of year, we have not only graduation interviews, exit interviews, but then enrollment interviews. So it's fairly ongoing. One thing that the board may be interested in, Better Futures numbers are actually slightly down this year. We've seen since COVID, this is our first decrease we've seen come back down. So we probably pre-COVID, we're running a lot of probably 12 to 15. Now, then we kind of went 20, maybe a little bit over 20. And now we're probably down more in mid-teens again. So the 4 different schools, particularly West B and us, are in consortium. Just because of sheer enrollment, the majority of kids end up being West B Viroqua kids. Yeah, that's kind of a fluid process. Laurel, we do have the open house coming up. Our enrollment window also is end of February 29th, 29 days in February at 3 p.m. is the closing for Laurel enrollment this year. And then, basically we have the registration materials, interview process. The unique thing, and I think the students speaking tonight, not everybody comes in beginning freshman year. Even in Laurel situations and kids move in at different times for different choices. It was great listening to the two of them talking in the hallway, just as they were going over that question, like, okay, how are you going to answer that? How are you going to type of thing? I told them I didn't think mom was going to put them on the spot with a question or anything like that. So, but I think it's just great to know that there's kids find their different routes. Something like August said, growing up through Trillium, just kind of felt like that was the natural thing. Trixie kind of found her way, and that was the avenue for her to go. So I think every kid has a different reason for going out there and to try it out. It's a great opportunity for the kids. And we are pretty much 45, I think we've learned is kind of our capacity up in the rural area. And we, pre-COVID, we were pushing that. COVID, actually, we dipped down a little bit up in rural, but now we're right back up to that 45 maximum. Pretty consistent.
It's great to have options. Thank you for that. AGR mid-year report.
I'm gonna drive this. Try to not just read it to you since you have this, but also go slow enough where if there are questions, just interrupt and jump in. So yes, it's our achievement gap reduction. Next slide gets into what AGR is. We have a 5-year contract. We have to implement one of the 3 strategies or a combination of any of those for our kindergarten through 3rd grade classrooms. It can be one-to-one tutoring, instructional coaching, or keep that 18-to-1 student to teacher ratio. This replaced the SAGE program from the past. Now, some of the requirements are, again, you have to use one of those 3 or a combination of those strategies. Report that at the beginning of the year, which we did, or at the end of the year, if we changed any of those strategies throughout the year. Set some objectives to reduce our achievement gap, especially for low-income students, and specify the assessments and report it to the school board, which we're doing right now. At the end of the year, in June. So for reading, our objective is to lower, to reduce that number of students falling in the 20th or 25th percentile, depending on the assessment. They break it down a little differently. Try to cut that number in half from the fall to the spring. Kindergarten and first grade, we use VAS Bridge, and that they use the 20th percentile rather than 25th. And then second and third, we use the STAR screener. And that just gives you kind of an update of where we started, where we are. We took the assessment in the fall and then right before winter break. And it's hard to make any real big judgments off of that. I think the best part of looking at data is at our last in-service, we worked with each grade level and looked at data a little bit briefly. And our out of their day doesn't seem brief, but to go through that each time and really look at our systems and how we can meet every student's needs, all those needs with our universal instruction, but also our interventions, and what we're doing throughout the day. So sometimes we don't want to make any snap decisions. We're making some changes to our system, changes to our instruction ahead of Act 20, which is awesome to be ahead of the curve. Seeing some really positive growth in the classroom. And again, sometimes that doesn't translate into a screener. They're each a piece of information that can help us make decisions forward. Hey, it's not, we can see the growth we want. Let's change to do something else. If we take our time, continue to look at data, continue to look at how we best meet all students' needs, get the results we want going forward. So that's kind of the mid-year results. And then math, we do kindergarten have a little bit different screeners, trying to kind of reduce that lowest number. We're just trying to grow the overall number based on that screener of number identification. So it doesn't look like a lot of change, but sometimes that is because the mid-year benchmark goes up. So this is boy, they didn't achieve much, and from fall to winter, they achieved quite a bit. It's just the benchmark goes up. They have to know 10 numbers in the fall, and then by winter you have to know 25 or something. So it sometimes doesn't look like they've achieved a great deal, but it's sometimes that the benchmark also goes up. So we want to grow 80% of those students, and then for first through third, we're back to trying to reduce that lowest 25th percentile and trying to have that. So some of the exciting things are that, like first grade starts with only 3 students in that range, which is pretty exciting. If you can start the year that way, that's awesome. And the other ones are in that ballpark as well. We don't, ideally, we would have 0 students in that quartile, or maybe 5 to 10% throughout the year. So we know that it isn't just interventions, it's also our universal instruction and how we can meet all the students' needs, which has a really challenging job. Probably the toughest job of the teachers is to meet that range of needs within their classroom. But I think through collaboration, through looking at best practices, looking at this data and all the hard work that teachers put in, they want their students to achieve and be the best they can. So we have the right group of people on the right. We're looking at how we can improve our systems to make that a reality. So I know that was pretty fast, but you also have the report and are welcome to ask any questions tonight, or if you look at it closer and something doesn't make sense, just reach out to me. See you again in June to see how the rest of the year goes.
Any questions? I look forward to seeing the next one.
Yeah, and we know that's just one screener. That's the things that teachers see on a day-to-day basis are closest to what they have. The screen is a little bit farther out, and state test is a little bit farther to what's actually going on in the classroom. But it's good. It's good. It's one piece of the puzzle. It's good information to see compared to how other students that take these assessments throughout the state and country do.
Thank you. Winter co-curriculars, Dan?
Winter co-curricular activity. We have 7
school-sponsored sports. And then we have one additional school affiliate club activity. All combined participation year is changed at 99 students, athletes, which is about 29% of the combined population of VHS and Laurel. Up and down, plus or minus 1 or 2 students either direction, with the exception of boys basketball, which is down about 8 to 10 athletes. Some of that has to do with larger senior boys class and boys basketball that graduated out last year. Nonetheless, boys hockey is up a little bit, wrestling is up a little bit, girls basketball is down a little bit. That's really about where we stand right now. Powerlifting, we have 14 athletes at this point for our first full year. To give a comparison, Arcadia has about 10 or 12. So for our first year, we're seeing a good turnout for that. So that's really about it as far as curricular activities go.
Anyone have any questions? I have one. So last year we had a meeting about gymnastics. I'm wondering if you know what kind of participation our students are having in that program,
Sure.
co-op program?
So last year we had 4 athletes from Viroqua High School participate. This year we have 3 students, a senior, foreign exchange student, and a freshman. So we're down 1 athlete. The size of that co-op team is even larger than we anticipated, which I would argue is a really good thing, particularly from Westby. More athletes have turned out. So I think there's upwards of 20 athletes on that team right now. Last year combined, without Westby, I think we had 8 athletes. So much bigger team. They actually have a full team. They can compete as a team because I have a much larger team. And from what I've heard, things are going well. So
There was some conversation about them using some of our equipment and practicing here. Has that happened or?
they're not practicing here. They had some mats and some other items that obviously were not being used. It's not the kind of equipment that you can just let anybody play around in. In fact, I was kind of happy to get it out of the room, considering that part of the gymnastics room is now also being used for middle school wrestling. So we made more space, and it really helped Westby out to be able to use some of that apparatus. So they're really
Part of the middle school numbers are up.
yes, middle school wrestling numbers are pretty substantially. That wasn't really included in my curriculums. I was mostly just alluding to high school numbers, but middle school wrestling numbers are up almost 100%.
Any other questions? So thank you for coming. I understand there's an event tonight.
Yeah, Ashton.
Like
Middle school wrestling event. Christensen.
Okay.
Section. Helping these kids out.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
It's a lot.
Thank
Part
you.
of high school.
Thank you very much. The next topic is Laurel High School update, which they canceled because of weather and have rescheduled.
It's just scheduled the
23rd of January. And then BAMS, that also was rescheduled because of weather, and that will be tomorrow night. All right. Spring school board election, the deadline for declaring candidacy was 5 p.m. on Tuesday, January 2nd this year. Candidates that have filed the paperwork, it'll be April 2nd, spring election. It's Vicki, Robert, and Kim, who there's 3 people up. 3 people will be elected, so congratulations. A primary election was not needed. WSB legislative update. We received this magazine, and I will say there's a couple of articles in here that I thought were worthy of sharing. There's a report from the Wisconsin Policy Forum, and it's talking about teacher pay hasn't kept pace with inflation. And it attributes the pay predicament, it calls, to a combination of factors, including limited revenue growth for school districts, declining enrollment, and rising health costs. These challenges, compounded by local property tax constraints, create a financial squeeze for school districts, affecting their ability to offer competitive salaries. And it ended with, the report concludes with a call for comprehensive solutions, urging policymakers to address the structural issues impacting teacher compensation in Wisconsin. And I will say to that, that our district, our administration, and our board have attended meetings in Madison. We had a local meeting in December, sharing these concerns, as well as celebrating the accomplishment of our district. But I wanted to share that. And then on the legislative, on the K-12 education bills, there's a financial literacy graduation requirement that's been approved. It's Assembly Bill 109, and into law as of 2023, Wisconsin Act 60. There's a competitive bidding mandate. It's not been signed, but it's going to increase to 50,000 with an exception for certain highway projects. The threshold governing sealed competitive bids that is applicable to local unit of government. And then it goes into what the current law is and what they're trying to change it to. There's a teacher workforce proposal, which is Assembly Bill 640, Senate Bill 608. And this creates an alternative licensure path for paraprofessionals. It requires the Department of Public Instruction to issue a provisional license to teach to a paraprofessional who meets certain criteria, including that they worked as a paraprofessional for at least 3 days per week for at least 1 school year in a classroom, and is recommended for licensure by the principal of the school, the director of the teaching and learning, and the school district administrator, school district in which the individual worked as a paraprofessional. There's AB 644, SB 605 that intends to assist districts in recruiting and retaining teachers by providing an open enrollment spot for pupils whose parent is a teacher in a school district that they are not residents of. Library materials, AB 308, would remove immunity for employees at school libraries and allow them to be sued if they are accused of possessing obscene materials. That goes on. It's a lengthy description of what that is all about. SB 597 requires school boards to develop and implement a policy under which the parent or guardian of a pupil who is under the age of 16 is notified of material the pupil checks out from the school library as soon as is practicable, but no later than 24 hours after the checkout. There's also some other things with that bill that's pending. None of those have passed, but they are all being discussed by our politicians. I just thought everyone should be aware of that. The only one that has passed is the literacy graduation requirement. So just so everyone knows, our board, our administration does discuss these topics with our local representatives and legislators. And if anyone else would like to reach out to them and have a discussion about those possible bills, please feel free to do so. If you want any more information about them, Tom would be a fabulous resource. The next item is 2024 WSB convention. It is this week, 16th through the 19th. It's in Milwaukee. I will be attending. Matt, Dana, Marina, Mike, and Tom will be attending. We are going at some different times. We go Tuesday. Some are going to a budget meeting, budget and finance tomorrow afternoon. I know I'll be attending tomorrow night. I believe Marina is going a little bit later in the day tomorrow too. And then we come back Thursday night. Upcoming meetings, February 7th, board workshop. Monday, February 19th is our regular board meeting. Wednesday, March 6th, we're having another board workshop. We would like to thank you all for attending. Happy New Year, and motion to adjourn. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.